Hey everybody. In putting together and condensing down our last little chat video, I realized that we never actually went through the steps of having to kind of create and manage a Google Classroom site. So I wanted to put together a little quick video tutorial, especially for you, Miss K, so that you can walk yourselves through the steps of creating Google Classroom um, for yourself. All right. Let me share my screen real quick so we can get that up and running. Okay. So the first thing we need to do, okay, I tell everybody, all my kids, to start from your email so that we can get to the apps. For those of you who don't know, most of the Google apps have two little icons. I call these the hot dogs over here, and then I call this the waffle. The waffle used to have squares in it and it looked like a waffle. Now it has circles. It doesn't really look like a waffle anymore, but I still call it that. It's easier for the kids to remember. The hot dogs are for kind of menu options for things that you can do in the app that you're in at the time. And this waffle is where you find all your Google apps. So I always ask the kids to go here because if you click on it, you can see, all of the apps that we have access to through the G Suite for education. I'm going to go to Classroom. And I know the kids also go and just type up Google Classroom up in the top. And if you're logged into your email, it'll kind of take you to your Google Classroom site. If you haven't set up Google Classroom before, you haven't been in it before, or you don't have any existing classes, it's going to take you to a window that looks a little bit different than this. But you can still have the same options. Mine looks like this because I already have classes in it. What you're going to want to do to create your classes is to come over here to the plus sign where it says create or join a class. If you have a class code, which you'll see in a second, then you can join a classroom that already exists with the class code, or you can give the code to your students for them to join, but we're going to create a brand new class. Okay. When you create your class, you have to give it a name. If you can see over here, I like to title my class with the subject area. I call mine English Language Arts, if you want to call yours math, or 8th grade social studies, or whatever. I like to put the class name at the top because that's going to be, the kids are going to see something that looks like this. And if we're all required to have Google Classroom sites, then they're going to have 6 or 7 of these pop up at one time. And you want them to be able to distinguish your class from other classes. So, name things deliberately so that it's easily recognizable by the kids so that, they're not accidentally going into a different class. Also, if you're someone who has used Google Classroom in the past and you haven't archived your classes, then those kids probably have those classrooms still on this board. So I would go archive the classes so that you kind of take them off of your workspace so that they're no longer active. So we can name this our sample 8th grade classroom. I put my name right here so that they know it, maybe they had someone last year who was their English teacher who their classroom is still active, so it's still on their board. So I make sure I put my name. I put Miss Brigola and then my class period. I teach in blocks. So I put block 1, block 2, block 3, because my block 1 is first and second hour, or my block, whatever hours they come in. They know what block they are because I tell them, you know, the first day of school. But for those of you who have class periods, you know, maybe this can be, you know, Miss Brigola's first period. Okay, so that they have the teacher name and the class period there. So when they're looking for recognition for whatever class they're in, you have the content area, and then you have the teacher's name, and you have the class period. All right, so I'm going to use that to create my classroom. Okay, so we have that up. You can, this is like the front page. If you're thinking about your Facebook page, where you have your wall where there's comments and posts and activity posts, this is what this stream page is. It's going to post a lot of just comments or notifications here on this page. You can customize this page by, you know, changing the theme of it. I usually upload photos. If you want to create your own banner for your classroom, you can do that. But that would be like a later tutorial. Right now I can show you how to change the theme. If you go to select theme, you have different options. You know, you have the content areas up here: English and history, math and science, arts, sports, other. Let's see what other's about. Oh, look, video games, cosmetology. We have knitting. Let's pick that one. Okay, and it changes the theme image. If you look over here on this side, you'll see the class code. When you click on display, it makes it really big. You know, on that first day when the kids have to join the class, if you happen to be in the classroom, then you can click on this really big so that they can see it and use the code to join. But there are other ways as well to put your students in the Google Classroom. You can do it from the people page. So let's just go there now. Okay, you can add teachers and you can add the students manually. I've done it both ways. It just depends. You know, if you have a small class or you don't find out who your students are in enough time to get it done, then you can just put the class code up this way so that the kids can join by going to Google Classroom, clicking on the plus sign, and selecting join, and then it'll ask them for this class code, and then it'll automatically put them into your class. But if you come here and let's say, you know, I'm an English teacher and I kind of want to share my page with Miss K or with Sarah so that we can kind of get an idea of what each other's doing or being able to help each other, then if I go in and if I click on the add or invite, I can come up, and because this is in our network, our system, if I start typing a name, see it brings up Miss K, and I can select that, and if I want to type Sarah, I click on that and it'll invite them. I'm not going to do that now because this isn't a real class and I don't want them to get notifications and emails that I'm inviting them to join a class that's not going to exist after this video. You can do the same thing for students. You can type their student ID numbers in here, or you can type their names. Normally when I'm searching for students, I'll type the last name in first and then the first name. It just works better that way. But if you type in their student ID number, it'll pull it up as well, and you can add them. So those are two ways you can add students and other teachers to your classroom. You can also set what they're allowed to do on the page. Like if you invite a teacher to your page, that teacher will get every notification that you get, every time you post an assignment, every time a student completes an assignment or asks for help or comments, all of the teachers are going to get notifications. So I've had cases where my inclusion teachers had requested that I take them off as teachers and just put them in as students so that they didn't receive all of the notifications, that they were still there in the classroom, but they were not, sorry, my text messages keep going on. They were not receiving all the notifications that the teacher gets. So that's an option as well. Grades is a new page inside of Google Classroom. Once I show you how to do the classwork, I'll see if I can show you. It might be difficult because I don't have student submissions, since this is just a sample page. But when students submit their work to Google Classroom, you can access their work through here and leave feedback on the work and assign a grade inside of Google Classroom. And this will, collect the assignments and the students' grades, just like in a grade book. All right, so I talked to you about the stream page, which is just the like the notifications page of Google Classroom. I showed you how to change the theme. I can do upload photo on another video if you wanted to get fancy. And we talked about how to add students and teachers to your class. So let's look at the classwork page. This is the page that's going to require you to be organized and require you to know what you're doing before you get in here, because as you create these things, these assignments or activities, or you put resources on this page, you want to know where you're going with it, because you want to be able to organize them by topics. In English, we have modules, and we have 3 required modules every year. We have a 4th module that we got to. So we had 4 quarters, basically, like units. I know math also has modules. I'm guessing science and social studies has that as well, whether they're units or, some type of thematic unit that you're teaching. I would recommend that you organize that way. What I'm going to do is, since I know English, I'm just going to do some organization that way. When you go to create, if you click on create, I'm going to start by creating topics. If you click on the topic, you can create those categories that, these aren't assignments, they're just like headers on the top of where you're going to be placing and organizing all of your assignments and materials. I'm going to call this class resources, because in my class we have certain resources that we use all the time. Like, it doesn't matter what unit we're on, what module we're on, we still use these resources, and I'll show you that in a second. I'll create another topic. I'll call it module 1. Now in 8th grade, we do flowers for Algernon first. So I'm just going to title this one Flowers for Algernon. Okay, and you see, as I posted it in there, it kind of popped on top of class resources, but we can float these topics around, and I'm just going to keep putting my class resources on top, because that's those are the resources they're going to access all the time. I'm going to create a couple more modules. Module 2 is Edgar Allan Poe, The Telltale Heart. And I'm going to float this down here. I'm going to create another topic. Module 3 was conservation. And I'm going to float that down to the bottom. Okay, so I have my modules, or my topics, my topic titles, like the headers. And you can edit them from the 3 dots here. You can move them around. You can copy the link if you wanted to post it somewhere else where the kids can access it faster. You can delete it altogether. What I'm going to do now is just kind of create a resource. In English, we always use like dictionary.com or thesaurus.com, whatever website you want to use. I'll just kind of put dictionary.com here. I know that I could easily type this in a link, but just to show you like how you can kind of add a link to a website. If you use, you know, any website that your kids have to go to all the time, if you wanted to link the content standards, content grade level standards, so that they can, or the parents can always access it, that's fine too. But I want to make this page one of my resources. So I'm going to go here and then go up to the window and copy the site address. And then I'm going to go back to Classroom. Sorry, I couldn't see the tab. The menu was in the way. Okay, so I'm going to go to Create. And I'm going to go to Material. All of these different options to create will produce different results for you. I'm going to use Material because I don't want the kids to like do an activity with it. It's just there as a resource. So I'm going to call it what it is. It's the dictionary website. I'll tell them, you know, use this link to define unknown words. And I'm going to add a link because it's a website and I just want them to go there. And I have already copied it. Highlighted the web address and then hit Control-C, which is copy. You can right click on it and do copy. I just use the keystrokes instead. So I'm going to put Control-V so it pastes in the link. And there it is. And they're not going to have to create anything with this because, you know, it's just a resource. But when we get into the activities, I'll show you how you can do that. All right, so I'm going to post that. And you see how it put it up here at the top? It didn't put it under any categories, any topics. What I'm going to do is take that and move it under class resources so that the dictionary website is under the topic where I want it to be. I can add thesaurus.com. I can add a link to No Red Ink or Common Lit or whatever resource we use in class outside of the module. That's just what I do. You can, you know, group yours by, you know, thematic topic or, you know, whatever type of resources you want. So you title it or whatever you want and put those creations underneath where you want to go. Okay, so I'm going to start posting activities so that you can see what those do. Let's see, I can create, let's do a question first. All right, so let's just say we're doing flowers for Algernon, and you know the key theme, you know, or the big takeaway from the unit is I don't know, something like about the value of knowledge, or you know what's more important, emotional intelligence, or you know, or intelligent. What is the difference between intelligence and smart? So I would create maybe one of those anticipatory questions, like a hook to do at the beginning of the activity. So whatever question you want to type here. What is the difference between being smart and being intelligent? This is a short answer question. You have other options. You can make a multiple choice. We can do one of those after. And I can post that. Oh, I didn't title it. Let me go edit it so I can title the question. Mm. What is important? Smart. Oh, that's a much better question. Much better worded. I guess when you're posting these activities, you definitely want to label them clearly so that the students know what you're asking them to do, provide, specific instructions. Okay, now I can post that. Okay, I'm editing it, so I'm saving it. Okay, so again, it put this activity at the top of the page, and I want it to go under the module that it falls under, and it goes under Flowers for Algernon. So I'm going to slide it under Flowers for Algernon. Okay, so now when the kids get this, they can click on it and answer the questions. And then when you click on it as a teacher, because what you're looking at is my teacher view of a page I created. The student view looks a little bit different. When you click on this, you're going to be able to see all the answers. Okay, they're going to list all the students' names here and who did it and who didn't do it, and how many turned it in and how many are still waiting. And you have different options here on the assignment. You can set the point value of it. You can email. Let's see, you can show I don't have any students in the classroom right now, so it's hard for me to kind of show you specifics, but it will show you, you have the option to click, show me all the students, show me those who have completed, show me those who have not completed the assignment. You can email reminders to students and communicate with them or give them feedback on their answers, but you can also give feedback on the actual activity inside of Google Classroom. Okay, so that is one option. Let me go back to the question, and we can make another post. Let's see, let's create just a regular assignment. So if you want them to read and do an activity, we can say this is, lesson 1. I don't remember the title of lesson 1 right off the top of my head, but we can say Introduction to Flowers for Algernon. We can give them the specific instructions here. What I recommend when you're giving instructions is to be very clear and step by step, especially if this is going to be some type of self-guided activity for distance learning. You want to be clear, and make sure that you tell them to read the directions first. So maybe I can do that right here at the top of my directions. Read these directions first. They don't always do it, but it's a good life skill to have. So they need to learn to read the directions before asking a bunch of questions. So also on that note, if you do get a bunch of questions from the kids, you can always say, did you read the directions? But make sure that your directions are pretty clear. In your instructions, you want to put what the objective is, by the end of this lesson, you will have, learned what a universal truth is and how we learn from fiction, whatever it is, so put your objective first so that they know what they're doing. and then, first do this, read the activity, blah, blah, blah. Second, do whatever. So in this activity, you kind of want to be very clear in your instructions, and then you want to start adding materials. So if this was something like they had to look at a slideshow or read, a text, or, visit a link, you have the options to add all these materials to this assignment. You could have them, create a response in a doc or create a slide. You have these options to do this. Usually before I get on Google Classroom, I have all of my documents done. I'll have my slideshow done. I'll have the form created for whatever quiz they're taking. I'll have a document template. If they're typing like a constructed response, I'll have it usually set up for them first, so that when they open the template, it'll open a copy for them. Let me add something to it so I can show you what your options are. So let me go to my Google Drive and pick, oh look, Miss K's Bitmojis. I've made her the little mascot of my videos, because Miss K is so funny when it comes to using technology. Let me find my Flowers for Algernon folder, because I'm sure I have stuff in there that I can use. Okay, we'll just use this. Has nothing to do with Flowers for Algernon, everything to do with studying the movie Elf as a piece of literature, which it is very good. It has character development and subplots and all kinds of stuff. Anyway, I digress. So when you add some type of document or slide or something to this activity, you have an option to kind of control what the students are allowed to do with it. Right now, when it says students can view file, all they can do is open it and look at it. They cannot do anything to it. If you click on the arrow, it'll say students can edit file, which means that every student who opens this document will open the same document. So it's one document and everyone is connected to this one document. The only time I ever do that is when it's almost like a collaborative effort. Like I'll have one slide where everyone might have to type their answer into one box. I don't do that very often. What I do use is the make a copy for each student. So what that does is that when the student opens this file, they will get their own personal copy of this document that they can edit and put answers on and write on and change things. And it won't affect the one document that you have, the original document. It kind of like makes carbon copies for every student, and it puts the student's name on the file name. It's great, and it attaches to the student's name in the Google Classroom assignment. So it's really, really good to use this option to make a copy for each student. Even in texts, like in English, if we have a PDF of a text, I allow the kids to have their own copy of the text, because then they can annotate it and write on it if they need to, and it won't affect the one anchor text, like the one original. All right, so I added what I needed. Most of the time when I create activities that has more than one document, I'll have like a link to a web page that gives them more information, or a video. I give them a reading to do, and then I also attach like the final activity, which is either in a Google Doc, it's English, so they have to write essays. So they type up their constructed response on a doc template or a Google slide. So I usually have multiple attachments. And, here I have who I can send the activity to. Here's my sample classroom that I created, but here are the other 3 classes I have. So let's just say, you know, like normally we would have our 3 block classes and then one elective class, which is our intervention class. So if I had one of these for, you know, a Google Classroom for all of my classes and my intervention class, I could select just one class to send it to, or every class, or my English class and not my intervention class, and so on. So I'm not going to send this to those classes because this is just the sample, but you have the option to pick. Like you can create the activity one time and then shoot it out to all your classes this way, instead of having to create the activity multiple times in the different classrooms. So I'm just going to send it to this one. And what's really good as well is that you can actually pick students to send the activity to. If you wanted to differentiate, if you wanted to put kids in groups and have them work on different things, you know, this activity could go out to all the students. But then if I choose not to, it will also show me every student in my class. It's not showing it right now because I don't have any students in this class, but it would show all the names. So if I wanted just, like if I wanted to break my class into 4 different groups of 6, then I can pick the 6 students that I want to work on this activity and assign it just to them, and then create another one for my next group and assign it just to them. So that's a good option to have for collaboration and working in groups. You can set the point value. You know, you can change it. If I wanted this to be like 25 points, it'll, I mean, most of the time I don't really change the grade value because I don't use this grade book, but it would be nice, you know, if we did that, then the kids could actually access their grades in class from the Google Classroom site, because it does have that grade book option where they can see how they're doing in the class and what they've completed and what they haven't completed. And their parents have access to this too. If I had a list of kids on the people page of Google Classroom, it'll show you an option to invite the parents by their email. So the parents could also see what the activities are, and you can communicate with them through here as well. You can set a due date. I don't normally set a due date because, you know, our kids sometimes take 2 weeks to complete assignments. They also forget to submit the assignments. A good thing about that is, let me post this real quick so we can see it as an assignment, because I keep talking around what I want to tell you. So I'm assigning this activity. Takes a second. Okay, so again, it's here at the top, but it goes under Flowers for Algernon. So I'm going to move it here, and I'm going to move it underneath the anticipatory question because that's what comes first and this will come second. Okay, so once kids start completing the activity, I can, as a teacher, click on it and then see who turned it in. You know, unfortunately, I can't show you any of that because I don't have any students in here. But you can see how you can organize your activities. And in order, if I wanted this to come first, I could move it on top of that. So that option is there. Let's see. I know there was something else I wanted to talk about, but I don't remember what it was. There are, I can show you the quiz assignment where it'll, you know, take you into forms, and then you can create a quiz on Google Forms, but that's another video in itself. You can create those multiple choice questions. You know, I can change to multiple choice, and I can ask the question, give instructions, and then keep, you know, saying, you know, give them their choice and create. Let's see. I'm sure there are other things that I need to tell you about Google Classroom, but I can't remember what they are. So if you watch the video and you need to know more than what I just talked about to get started, then, please call me or text me or email me or something, and I can get that in there for you. I just realized in the last video that we posted in our chat that we never went step by step through how to create and set up Google Classroom. So here's that. If you have any questions, just let me know. Bye, guys.